is: a mobile application running on 8 Amazon EC2 instances is relying on a third-party API endpoint. The third-party service has a high failure rate because of limited capacity, which is expected to be resolved in a few weeks. In the meantime, the mobile application developers have added a retry mechanism and are logging failed API requests. A DevOps engineer must automate the monitoring of application logs and count the specific error messages. If there are more than 10 errors within a 1-minute window, the system must issue an alert. How can the requirements be met with minimal management overhead? A. Install the Amazon CloudWatch Logs agent on all instances to push the application logs to CloudWatch Logs. Use metric filters to count the error messages every minute, and trigger a CloudWatch alarm if the count exceeds 10 errors. B. Install the Amazon CloudWatch Logs agent on all instances to push the access logs to CloudWatch Logs. Create a CloudWatch events rule to count the error messages every minute, and trigger a CloudWatch alarm if the count exceeds 10 errors. C. Install the Amazon CloudWatch Logs agent on all instances to push the application logs to CloudWatch Logs. Use a metric filter to generate a custom CloudWatch metric that records the number of failures and triggers a CloudWatch alarm if the custom metric reaches 10 errors in a 1-minute period. D. Deploy a custom script on all instances to check application logs regularly in a cron job. Count the number of error messages every minute, and push a data point to a custom CloudWatch metric. Trigger a CloudWatch alarm if the custom metric reaches 10 errors in a 1-minute period. Correct answer is C. Next question is: a DevOps engineer has several legacy applications that all generate different log formats. The engineer must standardize the formats before writing them to Amazon S3 for querying and analysis. How can this requirement be met at the lowest cost? A. Have the application send its logs to an Amazon EMR cluster and normalize the logs before sending them to Amazon S3. B. Have the application send its logs to Amazon QuickSight, then use the Amazon QuickSight Spice engine to normalize the logs. Do the analysis directly from Amazon QuickSight. C. Keep the logs in Amazon S3 and use Amazon Redshift Spectrum to normalize the logs in place. D. Use Amazon Kinesis agent on each server to upload the logs and have Amazon Kinesis Data Firehose use an AWS Lambda function to normalize the logs before writing them to Amazon S3. Correct answer is D. Next question is: a company uses Amazon S3 to store proprietary information. The development team creates buckets for new projects on a daily basis. The security team wants to ensure that all existing and future buckets have encryption, logging, and versioning enabled. Additionally, no buckets should ever be publicly read or write accessible. What should a DevOps engineer do to meet these requirements? A. Enable AWS CloudTrail and configure automatic remediation using AWS Lambda. B. Enable AWS config rules and configure automatic remediation using AWS Systems Manager documents. C. Enable AWS Trusted Advisor and configure automatic remediation using Amazon CloudWatch events. D. Enable AWS Systems Manager and configure automatic remediation using Systems Manager documents. Correct answer is B. Next question is: A DevOps engineer is researching the least expensive way to implement an image batch processing cluster in AWS. The application cannot run in Docker containers and must run on Amazon EC2. The batch job stores checkpoint data on a network file system, NFS, and can tolerate interruptions. Configuring the cluster software from a bare EC2 Amazon Linux image takes 30 minutes. Which is the most cost-effective solution? A. Use Amazon EFS for checkpoint data. To complete the job, use an EC2 auto-scaling group and an on-demand pricing model to provision EC2 instances temporarily. B. Use ClusterFS on EC2 instances for checkpoint data. To run the batch job, configure EC2 instances manually. When the job completes, shut down the instances manually. C. Use Amazon EFS for checkpoint data. Use EC2 Fleet to launch EC2 Spot instances, and use user data to configure the EC2 Amazon Linux instance on startup. D. Use Amazon EFS for checkpoint data. Use EC2 Fleet to launch EC2 Spot instances. Create a standard cluster AMI and use the latest AMI when creating instances. Correct answer is D.